Hi everyone, welcome to Equals. This is Nabil. We've got an amazing interview today with the music artist and activist PilAto from Zambia. Going to ask you to grab a tissue because it's an emotional one, but also grab your best stereo too, because we're going to be listening to PilAto, but also listening to some of his best music from over the years.
We're going to try something really modern. We're going to have music inside the podcast, which is pretty cool.
Very cool, very high tech.
Very high tech for Equals, and this is also the last Equals of the season, so it's a kind of finale, which is exciting too.
Yeah, been quite the journey, hasn't it, Max? Have you got a favourite episode this season?
Well, we've had some great interviews, but I think the last one you and Nadia did with Gary Younge was probably my best ever episode, actually. It was amazing.
Yeah, an amazing interview, amazing man, and I'm probably inclined to agree with you, to be honest. But yeah, folks, it's been quite the season. We've started out speaking to the head of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva. We've spoken to leaders on climate change. We've spoken about how we're going to be able to get a vaccine. There's so much there. It's been really inspiring, and I've learned a lot. I don't know about you, Max.
Oh, me too. Great interviews. It's such a privilege to be able to do this. And, as always, if you like the podcast, please recommend it to your friends, share it, leave us a review, because that's what gets people listening, which makes it worthwhile.
Totally. So today's episode, folks, is about music. It's about the power of music to change the world. And Max, in preparing for this episode, I was thinking about Bob Marley. I was thinking about Sam Cooke. I was thinking about music through history that's left a dent on the world,
Yes, and PilAto very much comes from that heritage, the kind of marriage of politics, activism, and fantastic music. So it's going to be great to talk to him today.
Well said. And maybe today is the day, Max, that we solve our, what do we call it, a long-running dispute about the greatest era of music ever.
Yeah, so for the listeners, because they may have a view, your proposition is that early 2000s R&B and hip hop was the greatest era of musical history. That's right? Yeah.
I mean, some would call it a proposition, Max. Maybe I would call it a fact.
Let's see what PilAto thinks of that. Yeah, should we get on with the interview?
Yeah, let's get to it, and let's transition with some of his music as well.
Brilliant.
PilAto, me I don't know. Kale my number. Umfweni economics yam kabuba. Dason kela batin shibomba. Narina na mufia kulomba. Economics yam kabuba. Economics yam kabubiri. Economics yam kabuba. Economics yam kabubiri.
PilAto, my brother, a warm welcome to Equals. It's so good to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to a great discussion.
It's really good to talk to you, PilAto. I mean, I think if we could start, it'd be great for the listeners out there all over the world to just hear a bit about you. Where you're coming from. You don't need to tell us about your first girlfriend, but maybe some details would be good, and then give people a feel. Yeah, that'd be good.
So my name is Fumba Chama, and I'm the number 2 in the family of 4. And I was born in Ndola. Ndola is a district on the Copper Belt. The Copper Belt is a province in Zambia. I grew up in a place called Ndeke in Ndola, and much of my childhood was like every other childhood until at age of 16 when both my parents died. Mom and dad died, and circumstances required that my older brother go his different way, because we needed to be looked after. We needed people's kindness at that point. So my older brother went to look for his own space, and I went to also look for my space at 16. And my younger brother went to stay with my grandfather, and my other young brother, who was the last born, went to live with my uncle. So as time went by, I found myself in a situation where I needed to depend on people's kindness. I needed somebody to offer help for me to survive a day. So there were moments that at the age of 18, I was renting my first room. I wouldn't call it apartment because that might just misrepresent the fact. So it was a room that I had to rent, and I didn't have a job. I was in school, and very young, I had to be forced to start renting a room. And I think after a few months into renting my own apartment, my young brother, who was staying with my grandfather, also was forced out of wherever he was staying. I don't know why they kicked him out, but they kicked him out, and he came to join me in this room. I had become a guardian to my young brother, and we were both in school. So I had to make sure that I pay rent. I had to make sure that I pay for my own education. I had to make sure that I pay for my brother's education. I had to make sure that I feed him, I feed myself, I get clothes for the both of us, and then still pay for education and survive a day, survive time as we lived. So, but it got to a point where we got so so helpless, you know. And I remember this. My young brother mentioned this better. There's a time that we were so hungry, like I'd spent about 2 3 days without food. So we went to school, and then luckily there were people from the hospital that were collecting blood from donors. So luckily I saw them, and then I went to donate blood, and they gave me a packet of sugar, milk, juice, and a biscuit. That was so much for me. That was super exciting, and I left school immediately and went home to to my young brother. So I got home, and I found him super starved, and he's about to eat this thing that he got from the garbage. So I told him, no, you don't have to do this. I've got the milk, I've got the sugar, I've got juice, I've got a biscuit. And we ate what I got from blood donation. There's so many other instances like that. But what saved us mostly was the support, the kindness of the people in my community. So for me, growing up in such an environment, such a situation, such a reality, first of all, my childhood was cut short. I was made to start thinking of how to survive as a child, also survive as a guardian, and then had so many responsibilities that I had to think like an adult. And during that time, I realized that there is literally nothing that I could do to people that were so kind, so supportive to me and my young brother, even in their poverty. And today I ask myself, what will I do to people that sacrificed so much for me and my brother? I honestly still don't know what I could do to thank them, apart from the little that I do to fight for their good, for a reality where these people that are poor can still have access to dignity, can still have access to basic needs. Because in their poverty, in their lack, they still could share. They still could share with us. They still could share with so many other young orphans and vulnerable people in my community. But what is it that we can do as people that are coming from such a background to make sure that there are not any more young people in our communities that depend on charity? What can we do? My work is basically to champion, to advocate for equal access to some of these basic needs. Because at the end of the day, we do have people that are so poor, not because they are lazy, not because they are not educated, but because the system does not favor people like them, people in their situations. So that's briefly about my life.
That experience that you've had and that you've shared with many others it seems to shape your music, right? And I mean, I've been listening to your music since we met, since I heard about you. I've been listening to Ni Mbeko recently. Actually, I think it's my favorite song. And you're saying in this song, my parents are asking me what's troubling me. I'm fearful. I can't speak, so I'm singing. Young children are homeless, they're orphaned, they're sleeping in ditches on the street. Look, my Nyanja is not very good, PilAto, but I think that hopefully that's accurate, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying in the song, yeah.
Tubana tunono, tulibe manyumba, tugona mufolo. Tubana tunono, tulibe makolo, tugona mumseo. Valibe vakutia, valibe maskulu, vazakula bwanji. Valibe bogona, valibe makolo, vazakula bwanji. Nimbeku, nimbeku, nimbeku.
So PilAto, can you tell us, like, what's behind this song, but more broadly than that, what's behind your music? What's influencing you to talk about these issues through your music that very, very few people are?
It still gets back to where I'm coming from, the background I just shared. Today, we are living in a society where humanity is determined by how much one has in the bank account or in their pocket, or which side of the town they live, or who they know. So there are so many people whose humanity we've taken away because they do not smell as nice as we do, because they do not dress so well as we do. And the victims are young kids that we've abandoned. We call them street kids, we call them all the other names. And these are innocent kids whose dreams we've not paid attention to, whose lives, whose dignity we do not care about. If we deny decency to these kids, if we deny them an opportunity to go to school today, if we deny them an opportunity to live as normal human beings today, what are we doing to the future of our countries? What are we doing to the future of humanity? If we refuse to educate, if we fail to educate young people today, we are actually denying them job opportunities and business opportunities tomorrow. If our discussion on inequality is something that we believe in, then we must invest ourselves in making sure that the young people today are empowered, are prepared for a future that we would bring about equality. So in the song, Nimbeko is me trying to say, I'm worried, I'm fearful, because at the end of the day, whether you've educated these young people, whether you've prepared them for the future, they will still grow up. If we are to tackle the issue of inequality, if we are to tackle the issue of poverty in this country, the best place to start is let's take care of these young people. Let's take care of the young people. Let's educate them. Let's prepare them so that as they grow, they will be prepared. They'll be equipped for the future. And even discussion on inequality would be different if we give these young people an opportunity to go to school.
It is a beautiful song, and I think PilAto, it's interesting to think about the privileged and the well-educated in Zambia. What do you think of the world's billionaires? You know, from a global perspective, when you think of the privilege you see globally, when you think of Jeff Bezos or when you think of Elon Musk, I mean, billionaires. What does it mean for you to see them out in the world, and what do you think that inequality means for Zambia?
For Zambia, like for any other place, it's clear that society has become like a coliseum, like a stadium where we watch men compete to become the world's billionaire, the world's richest, you know? So the billionaire culture has even made inequality a sport. We are quick to celebrate Jeff Bezos, the world's richest man, but we've neglected to to look at the people that have sacrificed, people that have been exploited, people that have been abused in the process for one individual to become the richest man. We are quick to celebrate them, but we've neglected to ask very critical questions about the people that are working for these people, about what is it that is necessitating, who are the accessories in this sport where people, men will be celebrated as world's richest. This is a society that we've created, a society where human dignity is meaningless. Our discussion on inequality, like you just rightly mentioned the names, cannot be vague, cannot be done in abstract, like we do not know what we're talking about. When we speak about inequality globally, when we speak about inequality locally, what we are saying is the people that are making the most of the situation, the people that are benefiting the most, the people that are stealing the most, must be held accountable, must be responsible enough to say, this is what we got. Is everybody benefiting? We cannot celebrate the people that are rising at the top without caring, without worrying, without taking time to lift the people at the bottom. Jeff Bezos may be the richest man, but do we know the poorest man at his company? Do we know the people that have sacrificed? How are they living? Somebody told me that there are people that are working at Amazon and are still homeless, are still sleeping in their cars. That's immoral. That's immoral. We cannot have a situation like that. It's a disease that we all must decide to tackle.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we still live in a world where, many people will look at what's happening, let's say in the African continent, and they think, okay, the solution for us here is to give charity. What's your kind of response to that and that kind of way of thinking more broadly?
First of all, charity cannot replace justice. Charity is not a solution. The issue with charity is that you take away so much from people, you steal from people, you disadvantage people, you put them in a position where they need charity for them to survive. And then you come back as a messiah. That's criminal. That should be criminal. My point being that we should resist a situation, we should resist a system that makes millions of people deserving of charity. We should resist a system that makes millions, that converts millions of people into deserving of an individual's charity for them to survive. It is wrong. It is criminal. It is sinful. It is sinful that millions should wait for an individual, for Bill Gates, to buy them vaccines. It is wrong. It shouldn't be normal. The millions of people should sacrifice, should donate to an individual, not an individual being so powerful that they can actually donate to millions of people, to nations, to countries. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Charity has its own place, but it shouldn't come at the expense of justice. It shouldn't come at the expense of morality. It shouldn't come at the expense of human dignity.
PilAto, if we're sat together now, you're going to see me like nodding
Yeah,
violently.
me too. Me too. Furiously nodding. Yeah.
Listen, PilAto, you keep saying we, and I want to go there for a second. Let me start by congratulating you because you are number one at the moment in the charts in Zambia with this song, It's Not Fair.
In a society that does not prioritize the affairs of the poor, the weak, and the vulnerable.
Chuma cha chalo, chuma cha bonse, ukwambira malonda mpaka nakuli bosi, ukwibile chalo, kwibila abantu, mubuchushi tamwabo muchishi, opportunity pele kuli bonse, pantu, bonse tukamilo buchindami, pela big man, PilAto, yeti twikale bambi balelira, bambi balera, na nesala mchalo chivo yo.
So yeah, congrats, man. How does it feel being number one?
Thank you very much. No, it's not a new thing for me, but it's new in that this is a song that is talking about issues that matter. When we make music about alcohol and we become number one, we're super excited. And it's rare that a song that is conscious and that is speaking to reality becomes a number one in the nation. It's very rare. So this one is a special case. Yeah, obviously I'm excited because of that.
And PilAto, this song you've done it with the Fight Inequality Alliance, and you're part of this broader movement in Zambia, but also across the world. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Fight Inequality Alliance and what it's all about?
The Fight Inequality Alliance, for me, has been like a bigger family. I've always worked alone. I've always worked as an individual. And purely because I've always had trouble connecting myself to established organizations and groups, because obviously I'm impatient, especially on things that I'm strong about. Like for me, inequality is an emergence that needs to be addressed. So I have always had problem working with any other person, because what bothers me may not bother them as much as it does to me. So when I heard about Fight Inequality Alliance and I had a meeting with them, I realized that we were agreeing and we were at the same pace. We were both bothered at almost an equal level. That is not easy especially for people in my space, because it is difficult to find solidarity in a situation where you have to stand against the powerful. It's difficult to find friends where in a society where standing for truth is not popular. So the Fight Inequality Alliance, for me, is that space where I go to and I would say, this is what is happening, this is wrong. And they say, yes, this is wrong, we have to do something about it. Even before I get upset about something, there's obviously 10 for 5 people that are upset already and are ready to act on that particular issue. And also it is very important because this Fight Inequality Alliance is made up of ordinary people like me, the people, the grassroots people. And I've always held a thought, a belief that anybody that's going to discuss inequality without the people at the grassroots, it's purely gossip. It's, for example, Davos, billionaires discussing issues of inequality. For me, that's just billionaires gossiping about poor people. It doesn't work like that. So Fight Inequality Alliance, is not a distant relationship, this is a space where you find, if I'm going to talk about too much taxes for teachers, I'll be speaking to teachers that are being overtaxed. If I'm going to talk about ununionized workers, I'm not going to speak it in a vacuum. I'll be speaking to somebody who's been denied the right to belong to a union because obviously their boss wouldn't let them to do that. So Fighting Equality Alliance is that space for me, and I've been a member of the Fighting Equality Alliance I think for 3 years now, and still be happy if I had an opportunity to join again. I'll still be part of it again.
Can I ask you a bit about music, PilAto? So, musicians and politics, and it's musicians like you across the continent have huge reach, particularly with the youth, to kind of fight inequality, demand accountability. I mean, how do you see the role of music in Africa in kind of achieving the political change that we need and the reduction in inequality that we're all fighting for?
Music is powerful everywhere, and the power of music, the power of creativity, the power of art cannot be doubted. So our music has, first of all, if we were to look on the negative side of things, if you see how young people dress today, you realize that they must have seen it in the music video. They must have heard it in the music video. If we have been able to use music to promote ideas that are negative, another example is patriarchy. So we have used music to promote men and insult, belittle women. Why can't we use the same power to reshape society? Why can't we use the same power of music to redesign society? If music has the power to destroy or to disfigure society, it must have the power to reshape it into something that we all can say, this is a society that we deserve. We can't use music only on superficial ideas of success, superficial ideas of excitement and happiness. I ask myself, what is it that I could do if I had power? If I had power to influence, if I had power to change anything, what is it that I could do? In my music, if music is power, then I should have that power. If music is power, it means that I have that power. I'm going to use this power to create a society where my children, being daughters, they will not be treated as lesser human beings because they are female. I have to use this music to create a society where the humanity of my children, the humanity of those that will come after me, is not going to be determined by which side of town do they live. For me, if music is power, I would like to use that power to create a society where my children will have to go to the hospital and be treated as human beings and access good health. They do not have to announce that they are PilAto's children. The fact that they are human beings, they should be accorded that right to good health, to health. They should be able to go to school. They should be able to have a job. Their dignity must be guaranteed by the fact that they are human beings. If music has the power to create a society like that, I don't think I can use it for anything less.
PilAto, there's a lot there, man. And, in a way as well, if you take a step back, it's like, so much of music has also been, and so much of culture generally has been captured as well, hasn't it, by the rich and the powerful. So music is also is a form of resistance to that, like the great artists that you've mentioned, and you're there with them, man. I wanted to ask you, Max and I have had this long-running dispute on the best form of music. Can you solve this problem for us? Can you back me and say that, R&B and hip-hop and let's say rap as well is the best form of music?
So the best form of music is the music that makes your heart dance.
Thank you, PilAto. Yeah, and
PilAto, that's not the answer I'm seeking here, man. But that's okay. We'll take it. PilAto, we like to end the podcast on a note of hope, and yes. I wanted to go there because, man, watching you over the years, you've been thrown behind bars, you've been challenged, you've had to kind of, you've had to stay brave and had to, face real challenge to you. I'm interested to ask, what gives you hope in the fight against inequality?
So what gives me hope is the fact that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. The fact that I've got a voice that can be heard. The fact that I can speak and somebody can nod and say, yes, that's true. Yes, we deserve better. Yes, we have the power. For me, that's hope enough. The situation that we found ourselves in is that there are so many voices that are speaking. And for those of us that have the privilege to be heard, to be listened to, if we can speak equality, if we can speak justice, if we can speak dignity, if we can speak inclusivity, and there is one or two people listening, that's hope already. Because the next discussion these people will engage themselves in, the next opportunity these people will have, their minds will be aware that we need a better society. And there's no way we're going to create a better society without equality. Secondly, also the young people that we are spending so much time with. I'm currently working with an organization called People's Action for Accountability and Good Governance in Zambia, which I'm the executive director for. And we speak to young people every single day. And when you speak to these young people, you see like the epiphany, like they realize that, damn, things have been bad and we can do better. For me, that's hope enough for a better future.
Thank you so much, PilAto, man. I think we'll carry on the conversation for many hours offline, and look forward to meeting with you again and to listening to more of your music. We're gonna finish as we thank you. To also ask you, is there a song of yours we can finish, do you think, with that will give people some hope?
Yes. So what song is that again? I'm trying to think from the new album. Okay, maybe you can play Mama Earth, which a song about climate change and how we need to act responsibly. Because if we believe in the future, then we must take responsibility in making sure that the environment is also part of our planning for a better future.
Brilliant. Thank you, PilAto.
Thank you very much, Nabil. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Lyashirya climate change, lyashirya abantu bonse, abengi n'abaluusa amayanda, bambi n'abaluusa ebyokulya, mulando wa results or effects ya climate change. So lekeni bonse tushibuke. Ndelembe nkalata kolibonsa bamweo. I hope you are all well. Ndebalila kuba fyashi tataikala kopanshi lolesheni okutwafuma fingi twalufya kunuma amenshi mumimana naye akamaka suba na kwefyo kalikaba bushefichili efyo chali lolesheni ekomwali ifishimana afikama ibusheni abantu kumishi ngabena chilishani ukwambila fye kubalimi insala nipa lulimi action ni lelo imeni na mwebo bantu. Climate change, we the changes, both the high and the low need to know. If we all say no to the cutting of trees, then we're giving more life to Mama Earth.
Whoa, what an interview. What a guy, Max.
What a guy. I could have listened to him all day long. That was brilliant.
So profound, and his music is so profound as well. And folks, do check it out. It's IamPilAto.com. IamPilAto.com. His latest album is up there. Well worth a listen. I've listened to it many times already.
And I think, I don't know about you, Nabil, but I thought music in the podcast kind of worked really well, didn't it?
Totally.
So just let me try this idea on you. Next season, we maybe line up an interview with like the head of the World Bank with like a R&B soundtrack, something like that.
I mean, you can put an R&B soundtrack to anything, Max, and it's gonna sound really good, you know. But let's maybe put the suggestion to committee first, yeah.
You mean we'll ask Nadia and Elizabeth? Yeah, okay. Let's do that.
But listen, while we're on the note of plugs, we have a blog, don't we, Max?
Yes, the blog is fantastic, equalshope.org. Really great blogs. We've got one this week on race and COVID from Brazil. Check it out because it's really interesting and we're getting some good stuff on there.
Yeah, one amazing one you wrote as well about Bridgerton and inequality. So that's our blog about hope in the fight against inequality to go with our podcast about hope in the fight against inequality. Folks, it's been a magnificent season. We're bringing it to an end now. We'll be back in March. Thank you very, very much for joining us.
Yes, it's been a fantastic season and stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you in March.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.